your shoulders are strong. I am Lynda Mullaly, your hostess and the author of this book, oops, Shouting at the Rain. Welcome, welcome to the very first episode ever of Shouting at the Brain, a game show based on this novel. So, it's a trivia game. We have a bunch of questions on the board with 6 categories, so why don't we take a few seconds to go over those categories before we begin. First category is setting, which refers to time and place in a novel. Second category, characters. Third category, plot, which basically are things that happen within the novel. Fourth category is mystery, and those are a mystery. I'm not going to tell you what those are about. The fifth category is what is it, which means I will show you an object, and you will have to tell me what the significance of that object is in the book. And then our last category is here, where you will listen to a sound for about 6 or 7 seconds, and you'll try to figure out what that sound is. That sound is important somehow to the book. Now, normally for a game show, we'd have live players, but we can't do that. So instead, I have a handy-dandy wheel that will choose our categories. I will spin that handy-dandy wheel in my very game showy jacket using my wonderful cordless or wireless microphone. And then I will choose a card off the board. Now, I will read your question 2 times, and then a 15-second timer will begin. Now, the timer is not your typical timer with a clock where it goes, tick-tock, tick-tock. Instead, you're going to see a 15-second video of the rips. Take a look at those right now. You are looking at the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Chatham, Massachusetts. This particular area is referred to as the Rips, also called Shark Alley by the locals. If you look carefully, it looks like someone has reached down from the sky and drawn a line across the surface of the water. On one side of the line, it's dark and choppy, and on the other, the water reminds me of moving glass, smooth. So how is this created? Well, to understand this, let's take a look at a smaller body of water. We know that when water hits a rock in a river, it changes the path of the water. It changes its appearance as well, making it turn white, which, by the way, is caused by oxygen bubbles popping. Water can be smooth or bumpy, depending on what is underneath it. So let's take another look at the rips in Chatham. So what is underneath the surface of the water here that makes the water behave this way? Well, there is sand, and a lot of it. So this is a drawing I did of the rips. It looks like a mound of sand, but in actuality, it's a 3-mile-long bar of sand. So, of course, it's going to affect the way the water moves in this area. So you remember the rocks in the river? Well, this is kind of the same thing. The water either hits the bar of sand, or it flows over it. So either way, it creates that ripple, it creates that line in the water. And this is Monomoy, just south of Chatham. This is a series of shoals, which means shallow water. And as you can see, there is a lot more sand. It's no wonder that since the Pilgrims landed in 1620, there have been about 3,500 shipwrecks off the coast of Cape Cod. On to the next question. Spin the wheel. All right, our first question is characters. Now, all the questions are worth points. They're either worth 1 point, 2 points, or 3 points. There are only a couple of 3-pointers because those are pretty hard. But this is a 1-point question, so if you get this correct, you will give yourself 1 point. What character would probably love this Shouting at the Brain game show? Which character would probably love this Shouting at the Brain game show? And the answer is Grammy. Grammy loves her game shows. And actually, I put that in the book because as a kid, I loved game shows. My brother and I watched them all the time, and we'd sort of play along. as we watched. Okay, second category, or second spin. Mystery. Ooh. Okay, this is a 1-point question. 1-point question. Delcy, Esme, and their neighbors enjoy drinking that nourishing tea together. What do they drink that tea out of? Delcy, Esme, and their neighbors enjoy drinking that nourishing tea together. What do they drink that tea out of? So they don't use paper cups. What do they use to drink it? And the answer is strong shoulder jars. Now, there are strong shoulder jars of all different sizes, but in my mind, while I was writing the book in my imagination, this is the one that I was thinking, the medium-sized one, and you could see that in the glass it actually says strong shoulder. I love these jars, and I have to tell you that I would drink water, sometimes iced tea, but mostly water. Out of these as I wrote the book. So I love these jars. Give me another spin. Mystery again. A 1-point question. Delcy has a bird. What is its name? Delcy has a bird. What is its name? And the answer is Birdie. So this is not a real bird. It's a figurine, but it looks real, doesn't it? And it looks, the reason why I have it is it looks exactly like the parakeet that I had when I was a kid. And I actually named it Birdie. So I don't get a lot of points for imagination. But what was funny about that bird is that in elementary school, I would burst through the front door and I would run in and I would yell, Birdie, Birdie! And after a while, I burst through the front door and I heard Birdie, Birdie without saying Birdie, Birdie. Well, I didn't know that parakeets can copy human voices like parrots do. So imagine my surprise when I ran into the house and the bird yelled Birdie, Birdie. So I think a lot of authors put little details here and there in their books. I like doing that. It makes it feel real for me. All right, let's spin the wheel. Characters. Ronan is rumored to be a blank and a blank. So there are actually 2 answers here. Ronan is rumored to be a blank and a blank. The answer is a liar and a thief. And that's actually the one of the chapter titles, A Liar and a Thief. Now, rumors are things that people tell each other, but we don't know for sure that they're true. So, like for example, if somebody says to you, I heard that, be very careful when people start stories that way, because it may mean that it's a rumor and it's not actually true. All right, another spin. Another character. Now this is a 2-pointer. So if you get this one correct, you give yourself 2 points. Which character in the novel will not be referred to as a pronoun, such as he, she, they? She will only be referred to with her legal name, or madam. Who will not be referred to as a pronoun such as he, she, or they? She will be referred to only with her real legal name, or madam. She likes to be called madam too. And the answer is Katrinka Schofield. She's the director of the play Annie in the book. Another spin. Characters again. Wow. A 2-point question. When Grammy blows a kiss, what does Delcy usually do? When Grammy blows a kiss, what does Delcy usually do? The answer is slaps her cheek. So when I was a kid and my mom was far away, like across the room, she would kiss her hand and blow it to me. And I would slap my face like it hit me in the face. And then I would kiss my hand and blow it back to her, and she would slap her face. So again, it's another little detail I put in the book. From my real life. Another spin. Mystery. Wow. All right, another 2-point question. A person not born on Cape Cod, but who moves there is called a what? A person who is not born on Cape Cod, but moves there is called a what? And the answer is a wash-ashore. Now this is a sign that actually hangs over my kitchen sink because, I mean, where else would you hang a sign that says wash-ashore but over a sink? So that's the answer to that one. Another spin. Setting. A 1-point question. In what part of Massachusetts does shouting at the rain take place? In what part of Massachusetts does shouting at the rain take place? And the answer is Cape Cod, which we've already talked about a little bit here. Now here you will see the marshes of Cape Cod. This is a drone flying over them. And these marshes are actually in Provincetown, way at the end of the Cape. And here, this is a video of Seagull Beach. And this is actually where Seaside is, where Grammy works. And actually a lot of scenes take place here on this beach. Another spin. An object. Okay, what is it? All right, so I'm going to show you an object, and you're going to tell me why it's important in the novel. It's a silver spoon, and it's got roses at the end. A silver spoon. So in the book, there were a whole bunch of these that look the same. When did these appear in the book? And the answer is when Henry and Ruby hung them from the tree outside their house. When Henry and Ruby hung them outside the tree. Okay, another spin. Ooh, another object. All right. So Delcy and Ronan like to play a game. I'm going to put this down again. Hopefully you can still hear me. They like to play a game, but it's a homemade version. So there are little houses, and there are little hotels, and there are community chest cards, and there are chance cards, and lastly, there are deeds. There are deeds to properties, and this B here stands for boardwalk. So, what game is that? The answer is Monopoly. So, how are you doing? All right, setting. Another setting question. This is a 1-point question. Amy and Michael are starring in the musical Annie. What theater is this playing in? Amy and Michael are starring in the musical Annie. What theater is this playing in? And the answer is the Cape Playhouse. Here is a picture of the outside of the playhouse. And here is a picture of the inside of the playhouse. It's sort of like a big barn. It's a very cool place. Here is not on the wheel because I couldn't fit it, but I wanted to include it. So I just figured every once in a while I'd grab one of those. So I'm going to grab one of those now. So you're going to hear a sound for about 5 or 6 seconds. You're going to try to guess what that is, figure out what the sound is. Listen. The answer is crows. Crows, you know those black birds that wah, wah. So in the very beginning of the book, Amy bursts through Delsey's door, sounding like summer crows. And they are loud. All right, setting. Another setting question. Another 1-point question. The question is, what is written on the sign as you leave the neighborhood? What is written on the sign as you leave the neighborhood? And the answer is, thank you. Another spin. Setting again. What are the inside walls of Delsey's house covered with? What are the inside walls of Delsey's house covered with? The answer is soot. Now, this is a picture of the inside of my fireplace. And when you burn something, such as oil or wood, there are little tiny particles that don't quite burn up all the way, and they float around in the air and eventually settle on the surfaces that are nearby. So the surface that you're looking at now is actually bright red brick, but you can't see that because it's been coated with small particles of wood that didn't quite burn, and we call those soot. All right, another question. Mystery. Wow, no plot yet, huh? All right, mystery, 2-point question. At the beginning of the book, what kind of shark does Ronan compare Delsey, Brandy, and Tressa to? Because this shark only swims in shallow water. At the beginning, what kind of shark does Ronan compare Delsey, Brandy, and Tressa to? Because this shark only swims in shallow water. And the answer is hammerhead sharks. Here are some hammerhead sharks, and they are named because their heads look like hammers. They are, I think, one of the coolest animals on Earth. I love them. All right, another spin. Finally, a plot question. All right, number 1, a 1-point question. Tressa writes the word boring using what? Tressa writes the word boring. Using what? The answer is sunscreen. So she writes on Delsey's back with sunscreen. And of course, if you're lying in the sun with Delsey's complexion, her skin is going to darken. So covering it with sunscreen is not nice, because whatever is covered with sunscreen won't darken. So when she washes off that sunscreen, it's going to say boring on her back, which it did. Not nice. Boy, that Tressa. Not a fan of Tressa, even though I created Tressa. All right, characters. Oh, we don't have any more characters, so I'm just going to grab a plot question. For 1 point. Delsey and Ronan use chicken to catch what? Delsey and Ronan use chicken to catch what? And the answer is crabs. They catch crabs. Now, this first image here is the boardwalk. This is the boardwalk at Gray's Beach, where they go crabbing. And here is a video of a crab walking around on the sand. You see the water is pretty shallow. It depends on whether it's high tide or low tide and how deep the water is.
Hey everyone, I'm going to take you down to Gray's Beach with me to catch some crabs with pieces of chicken. So you can see here, there's a piece of chicken sitting on the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. We've got one crab on there already, and a second one jumps on board. And here on the dock or the pier, you could see a seagull who's hoping that I get careless and drop one of these crabs. Going back to the chicken in the water, you could see that some more crabs have jumped on board. As they do, they all pile onto each other. And we go back to the seagull here, who's getting a little bit more brave. Going back to the chicken, we have a lot more crabs on here. I'm going to pull the ball of chicken up to the surface of the water so that you can get a better look at the crabs. Aren't they cool? See how they're using their little claws and ripping pieces of chicken off? And they stuff them in their mouth just like we do. So let's take the ball of chicken and pull it up onto the dock. You could see the crabs a little bit better now. I'm going to reach down and pick one up. You've got to grab them from the back so that they don't get you with their claws. And here I am holding an especially feisty one. You could see he's waving things around. If he were bigger, he'd be able to get me with his claws. They reach underneath themselves to pinch somebody when you hold him. But he's small enough he can't quite reach me. Our friend the seagull is still here. I am not going to give the crab to him like he would like. Instead, I'm going to be a little bit more like Ronan.
All right, another spin. Characters. Okay, we don't have any characters left, so I'm going to grab a here question. All right, are you ready? Listen. The answer is a car starting. So you might recall that Grammy says a little prayer and makes a cross on the dashboard before she starts the car, because every morning she's not sure if it's going to start or not. All right, another spin. Characters again. Wow, it loves characters, but there are none left. So let's do a plot question. A 2-pointer. There is a frame of Delsey's mom next to her bed. What is that frame covered with? What is the frame itself decorated with? There is a frame of Delsey's mom next to her bed. What is that frame decorated with? And the answer is sweet candy and gum pieces. And here is a picture of that frame that I created for my website. Actually, if you go to my website and you click on that frame, or there are all these objects on the boardwalk. If you click on the different objects, you can do different things, like create a storm or create a shark or all kinds of things. All right, another question. Plot. All right, we have a plot question. After Henry caught an enormous fish, what did he do? After Henry caught an enormous fish, what did he do? And the answer is, he threw it back. He threw it back because, remember, he said he just didn't have the heart to eat such a beautiful animal, and an animal that had grown so big and lived such a long time. So that kind of gives you an idea of the kind of man that Henry is.
Here we have a striped bass ready to be released back into the ocean. I will note that this is not unusually large, though, like the one that was released in the book. But the fisherman here is just holding the fish underwater to give the fish a little time to get its bearings. It's a little stunning for a fish to be pulled out of the water because, of course, they can't breathe. So he's holding him by his tail, and when the fish starts to fight back a little bit, the fisherman knows that the fish is okay, and he lets it go.
All right, another spin. Setting. Ooh, no, one more setting question. It's a two-pointer. 2 points. Sunday school is our favorite ice cream place on the Cape. Outside of this place, in the book, what does Ronan climb all over? Remember, he gets into trouble? Sunday school is our favorite ice cream place. Outside of that ice cream place, what does Ronan climb on? And the answer is the antique ice cream truck. The antique ice cream truck, which really is parked outside that ice cream place. All right, another spin. An object. Excellent. Okay, so what kind of animal is this? And what kind of significance does it have in the book? I guess it's kind of a two-part question. So you can get 1 point for telling me what kind of animal this is, and another point for telling me what Delcy names the mother seal. What does Delcy name the mother seal? Oh, I guess I just gave you the answer to this one, but that's okay, it's a freebie. All right, and the answer is madre seal. She calls her madre seal. So madre is mother in Spanish. My daughter got me this keychain because she has called me madre for a very long time. I love Spanish. I really wish that I could speak another language, but my brain doesn't seem to be wired that way.
So here are some pictures I took after running across a seal pup that had been left on the sand by its mother. And this is where I got the idea for this scene.
He's running. All right, another spin. Setting. No more setting, so I'll go for, what is it? Okay. I have to go off here. Here's the object. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, this poor author, she doesn't have enough fans, so she carries one wherever she goes. But this is how I named a character in my book. So I came up with his first name, and I wrote that down, and I sat at my desk trying to think for the longest time what his last name would be. Sullivan, Riley, Jackson, Johnson, all kinds of names. Couldn't come up with one. And then I looked up at this fan in my office. Lasko was perfect. That's his last name. What's his first name is your question. What's his first name? And the answer is Henry. Henry. I love Henry Lasko. Love him. All right, plot. We have a plot question. 2 points. What does Delcy hear that warns her in times of danger or when she might do something dumb? What does Delcy hear that warns her in time of danger or when she might do something dumb? The answer is the little voice. And you know, we all have that little voice. You know, when you say to yourself, should I do this? Is this a good idea? Maybe, maybe I shouldn't do this. That's the little voice. That's a warning. And let me tell you, folks, it's very smart to listen to the little voice. The little voice knows. All right, characters. We don't have any more characters. So why don't we do a mystery question? Now this is a 3-pointer, so it's a little tougher. What does Grammy say should be cradled like a newborn baby? What does Grammy say should be cradled like a newborn baby? And the answer is your feelings. Your feelings. Now, I don't read very often on the Shouting at the Brain game show, but this is the answer, and it's an important thing to think about. So I'm going to read you this one paragraph. Nothing, absolutely nothing, she says. That's Grammy. But there is something you must remember about those feelings deep down inside. They come from your soul, and they're a precious thing, darling. They should be saved for the ones who will be cradling them like a new baby. You don't hand them off to just anyone. The ones that love you protect your feelings because they've been given a piece of you. Others may toss them around for just the same reason. And that's a very good piece of advice that Grammy has given us, because I think sometimes we think that everybody should be a best friend, but the thing is that kind of friend, that kind of thing is earned. So it's okay to just hang out with people and have pizza and go to movies, but you only share things that are special to you, your secrets, things that you'd want to keep private. You only share those with people that you can really trust, to cradle them like a new baby, to really take care of them, not the kind of person who'd go off and tell someone and that kind of thing. So there are a lot of themes in this book that are very important in terms of friendships and connections to people, and that's important stuff, very important stuff. All right, see, we've got only a few cards left, so I guess I'll leave the wheel, and I'm just going to choose a here, a 2-pointer. All right, give a listen. And the answer is running, because we know that Delcy is a runner. That recording is someone running in shoes, but that's the answer, running. All right, so let's choose another. How about we go with, what is it? Okay, so here is a shirt from Cape Cod. So do you remember what Delcy was thinking about people who wear Cape Cod t-shirts? Do you remember what she was thinking? And the answer is a caper would have to be caught dead to wear a Cape Cod t-shirt. I guess they're only for tourists, but I would just like to say that I live on Cape Cod and I love my Cape Cod t-shirts. I wear them all the time, so I guess when I'm out and about, people must think I'm a tourist. But I love my Cape Cod t-shirts. So, okay, so let's do another sound effect. A 2-pointer. Okay. Take a listen. All right, so that is turkeys. Those are turkeys. So I have to admit that turkeys were in an early draft of the book, and I ended up taking them out for the final draft, but I put those in because turkeys crack me up. They're all over Cape Cod. You don't think Cape Cod and turkeys, but let me tell you, these turkeys are big turkeys, and they walk around Cape Cod in these big gangs, these big tough gangs. I think technically they're called gaggles of turkeys. But they crack me up. You have to be careful though, they're aggressive. They'll go after your dog, like if your dog, lunges at them or something. But here, take a look at this picture. So this is a tree next to my house. This is a tree right outside my bedroom. And the turkeys go up in the trees. And they gobble, 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 gobble at 5:30 in the morning, and they wake us up. I guess I should be annoyed, but I have to tell you, I think it's absolutely hilarious when they sit in the trees and do that gobble, gobble, gobble. All right, last question. It's a 3-pointer under the mystery category. And here we go. Who in the book owns a 1928 Massachusetts license plate? Who in the book owns a 1928 Massachusetts license plate? And the answer is Henry. So Henry owns, let me put my microphone down for a second. Henry owns one of these. So the story behind this plate is that in 1928, it was the first year that the state of Massachusetts put a fish on their license plate. Now this is a commercial license plate, which means it was on business vehicles. So fishermen who had trucks, and so they would have a business vehicle. So, but it was the first time they had a fish on there, and 1928 was an absolutely horrendous year for fish. The fishermen would come in and just say, it's like the fish disappeared. It doesn't matter, we cast, we use our nets, or we use the jigs. There seemed to be no more fish in the ocean. And this was a very dire thing. This was an awful thing for the fishermen, because that's how they make, their livelihood and support their families. Well, I guess they must have been superstitious, because those fishermen started blaming this license plate. They said that because the fish was facing away from the state of Massachusetts, that this was the reason the fish had gone. And they demanded that they change the license plate. Well, the following year, in 1929, you see that the fish is now, for the first time, facing the state of Massachusetts. You know what happened in 1929? All the fish came back. The fish came back. Everybody was happy again. So that is the end of our first episode of Shouting at the Brain. And thank you so, so much for attending, for coming and playing the game with me. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate your taking the time. And I really appreciate your taking the time to read my book. I never take that lightly when somebody chooses to read my book. I really appreciate that. So hopefully I will see you for my other 2 episodes. I know you don't think that I can do any worse with this outfit, but trust me, I can. I can make this outfit even worse than it is now. And I will do that for you. So I hope that I will see you in the other episodes. I hope that you are all well. Please keep those shoulders strong, and I will see you soon.